Ancient Egypt stood as a massive political superpower, but its foundation relied on an intricate web of false gods. Every element of their world, from the river to the soil, was tied to a specific deity. To the Egyptians, these gods were invincible, fixed in stone, and woven into the rhythm of nature. When Moses arrived with YHW's demand to let my people go, Pharaoh dismissed him. His confidence rested in the gods he believed protected his throne. We still build our lives around competing loyalties today. We might not worship river deities, but we dedicate our focus to wealth, social standing, or ideologies that demand our ultimate allegiance. These plagues functioned as a systematic takedown of those false deities. They serve as a warning for anyone who chooses to cling to their own modern idols when confronted by the truth. God's plagues operated as a strategic spiritual campaign, calculated to expose the impotence of Egypt's sacred pillars. Turning the Nile to blood was a strike against Hapi, the god of the river. The Egyptians watched their most vital resource transform from a source of life into a stench of death. The subsequent plagues of frogs and gnats targeted Hecate, the frog goddess, and Geb, the god of the earth. These deities were shown to be powerless, as creation itself turned against the Egyptians. The Egyptians worshipped creation, so God weaponized the river, the insects, and the soil to demonstrate mastery over the elements they served. Pharaoh's court magicians initially used occult arts to duplicate these early miracles, attempting to prove their secret arts were equal to God's power. That illusion shattered during the plague of gnats. The overwhelmed magicians were forced to admit to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." Divine power eventually overpowers every counterfeit system. By the third plague, the Egyptian sorcerers were left with no excuse for their disbelief. Beginning with the fourth plague, God introduced a new element, a precise geographic boundary. This is the principle of Hiflah, setting apart. While swarms and hail devastated Egypt, God protected the Israelites in Goshen. This distinction proves his power is precise. Judgment was not chaotic. It halted exactly at the border of his people. Despite seeing his neighbors protected while his own land suffered, Pharaoh refused to yield. This resistance started as a habit. After the Nile turned to blood, the text says Pharaoh did not take even this to heart. He saw the evidence and chose to explain it away to maintain his own authority. Through repeated rejection, Pharaoh reached a state of permanent spiritual insensitivity. Eventually, the narrative shifts. Where Pharaoh once hardened his own heart, God eventually confirms that choice and hardens it for him. Pharaoh became so calloused that he remained indifferent in his palace, while his people desperately dug for water. This story shows how repeated resistance can eventually make a person unreachable, even by the most undeniable truths. Pharaoh's story maps the internal steps of a heart moving towards spiritual blindness through repeated rejection. We face our own versions of Egyptian gods, comforting distractions, deep-seated habits, and rival allegiances that demand our focus. When God's revealed truth confronts these modern idols, the question is whether we will respond or dismiss the warning like Pharaoh did. Take a moment to identify one specific loyalty or habit in your life that competes with your devotion to God. To avoid Pharaoh's end, we must maintain a soft heart. This requires regular self-examination and a willingness to obey when the truth is revealed. Power doesn't belong to the empires we build or the distractions we cling to. Those pillars will eventually fail. Living with God requires us to dismantle our false gods today, before a habit of resistance makes our hearts unresponsive to his presence.